Okay, we are live now.
All
And
right.
that was cool. And now, if you want to turn around and share your page.
I will do that right now. So how do I do that? Just hit the bottom share thing.
Yeah, so refresh your page to make sure you see that you're seeing the stream.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Now share, right? From right.
Yeah. Yep. And then you can share it to your page and start a watch party or
Share now with friends. Start a watch party. I've never done that. Let's do that.
yeah, just start a watch party and see. Well, here's the thing: is people can type and ask questions and all kinds of stuff too.
I'll see them up here on this screen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right. So here we are, man.
Great to see you, Jeff.
You've been through a few things since the last time we talked.
Thanks.
Well, there were some questions about you being able to play, and that's why we started with you playing. You can play, you can't really hit high notes, but tell me a little bit about what you all went through these last month and a half or 2 months.
Well, for folks that don't know, I was diagnosed in March with HPV P16 positive squamous cell carcinoma cancer. And I had a tumor in my neck, outgrowing about the size, pretty good, like a walnut sticking out of my neck. I went through 3 chemotherapies starting on May 11th, 3 weeks apart. And I did 35 radiation treatments to my neck. And let me get something for you just while, hang on, don't go away.
Right. All right.
I might as well share my paraphernalia. So this
what
is a radiation mask.
Oh.
And it's got my information on the top of it there. And this is molded to my face because you can tell it's kind of really handsome. But anyway, I would lay on the table and then this would go over my face. And this would pin my head down to the table, and then the machine would go around and radiate me. So this is my souvenir. I'm going to make it into a chia pet, I'm pretty sure, and just have some hair and stuff growing out of it, some plants. And so anyway, I did that 35 times. And
35 times?
35 radiation treatments. So, and if people that don't know about radiation, and it's like going in the sun for 3 to 4 hours a day without sunscreen. I mean, as far as what it does to your skin, I never blistered or anything. We took really good care of a lot of lotions and stuff. So I fared better, a lot better than some other people I talked to that went through this. But on the inside of my throat, of course, they're radiating this tumor and it causes all kinds of trauma. There's all kinds of weird stuff that happens in your mouth and your saliva glands. And my saliva glands seem to have survived this, actually. So I think I dodged a bullet with that. They may not be fully functional, but I'm kind of okay. My taste buds are gone right now, so everything tastes bland to me. But it comes back, apparently, and it's just kind of the side effect of chemotherapy and radiation, So I've also lost 30 pounds, so if I was standing up, you'd be able to see. Not a diet I really recommend, but I, live or die, I'm going to go with live and deal with the side effects.
Right. Now the after effects of the chemo and all that and the radiation, it's not chemo, it's radiation.
It's more radiation in the neck. Yeah.
And when will the tastes and all of that return? Do you expect that?
Weeks, some people in months. Some people don't get it back completely. I know one guy that's I'm part of a cancer support group for head and neck cancers now. I met somebody, I talked to somebody locally here that had this, so we've been talking a lot, and we did something last month, and we had somebody from Cedars there, a speech therapist and physical therapist talking to us. Anyway, I learned a lot, but a lot of these people had different stories about what went on with them when they were going through the treatments, and some of them have more serious issues than I'm having. But it's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. Radiation is like a drop, and like when you do the first one, it doesn't just go away and you do the second one. It's accumulative. So that first one is still working when you're doing 4, 5, and 6. It's like a pebble in a stream. So even though I was 2 weeks ago, I finished my 35 radiation, that radiation is still working on killing cancer cells as well as the chemo still in me.
Mm.
Doing that. Physically, I feel pretty normal now. Energy wise, I'm doing stuff, man. I'm at the computer. I'm
yeah.
mixing tunes. I'm doing stuff, you know, and
Right.
I'm practicing quite a bit, you know, a couple hours a day. And for instance, you know, a week and a half ago, even though I could play in the low register, with everything seemed fine, I could play to the top of the staff, you know, and it hurt because when your neck expands, all this trauma there's rawness and abrasions inside my throat. And when I
Right.
swallow, I feel them. I'm doing way better. I mean, it's like really improved a lot the past few days. So I've made some strides on the horn where I'm playing. My range is going up, and my chops feel fine. I mean, I feel like I could pound out a high G right now. My neck would not like that.
Mm. Did the doctors recommend that you don't agitate your neck
No,
and
like I said, they want me to play because one of the effects of the radiation is it causes a muscle tightness. You know, so your muscles can really seize up. So I'm doing stretching things, just stretching my neck, you know, kind of several times a day. It's not really bothering me too much, and I have to open my mouth. Like I had 3 fingers when I started, you know, when
Mm.
they first tested me, and I still have that.
Okay.
I've lost nothing there. But
Okay.
since the neck muscles tighten up too, they like because my neck expands when I play. They think the idea of stretching that is good.
Oh, okay.
It hurts yourself if it hurts, you know. So I know how much pain I can take when. So anyway, it's a process, and I'm doing pretty well, I have to say. So I don't want to jinx that,
Right. Well,
you know.
one of the things that I wanted to do is play this video because the last time we talked, you were one of the first week or two of guests that I started having when I started doing this show. And we were talking about, oh, what are we going to do? And you were then doing some stuff from home. I think you've always done some things from home, but I wanted to show this little video so people can get an idea of what you're now doing mostly all at home, all your sessions and all your
Well,
recording.
now I'm not doing any sessions at the moment because I've taken some time
Oh,
off. But I was doing some, you know, when the COVID thing happened, I play on American Dad and Family Guy, and so then we started having to do them remotely. So fortunately, Walter Murphy does mock-ups of all his tracks anyway, orchestral mock-ups that are really good. And then the orchestra, we'd re-record them, of course. But so now he's got a couple of violinists doing it, and I would do the trumpets, and Alan Kaplan would do the trombones, and he'd have Bernie Dressel do the drums, and all the people that work on the show. And I would do it from here. You know, I have nice microphones, and I have a nice little setup here. You know, so it kind of helped me out a lot, actually. You know, I don't like working that way. I'd rather go drive to Fox and go sit down with my colleagues and play. You know, this is a weird way to make music.
it is, we missed the thing that I've talked to every musician about is the funny thing. Here's another thing I wanted to show. Let's do this first because this is what we miss.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say. So
Okay, so this is what we miss when we don't get a go work.
Hey Wayne, what's that piccolo you've got there?
It's it's actually from India. It's called the Vindaloo 500.
Oh wow,
Good trumpet.
nice. Hey, your belt looks a little crooked there, man.
I guess it is. Yeah, here, let's see. That's too far now, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe the other way.
Okay.
That might be it.
That's cool. Hey, Barry, put this on your stand over there, will you? Oh, come on, Barry, Jesus. I can't believe you didn't put that on your stand. I can't look here. Booker, here, hold this for a second. Sorry. Booker, these things are expensive, for God's sake. Come on, man. Let Rob try it. I got it. You guys, man. I know you don't want me playing piccolo trumpet, but
Oh, another day at work.
man, I guess I better. We're just gonna leave it there. It still works though.
Oh, okay. So that was hysterical. So, that's the kind of stuff that we miss in going to work,
So
right?
that so there's a story behind that. So there's another video too that we do with that same horn. That horn's a prop. It's an unplayable instrument. So I would never obviously destroy a real instrument that I could give to a school or something. Unplayable instruments made of pot metal, and it is from India. And I bought it on accident on Amazon. I did one click buy. I was looking. I go, what is that? I thought it was plastic, and I was going to buy it. I go, it might be fun to have. And they showed up in the mail, and it's. I had to wash it out. It smelled awful. It's unplayable. I mean, it's an unplayable. It was $80 with the case and shipping. So
Oh,
I kept it. So anyway, I decided I brought it into work, and that was just done on a whim. Nobody knew what I was going to do. And so when I dropped it, the copyist you see come over, he's like, "Oh my god!" So that's what that was all. But that was at the end of a session we were doing. I don't know if you saw this Little Mermaid Live that aired a few months ago, where it was part like this. They would show the movie Little Mermaid, and then when it got to one of the songs, they'd have a live singer singing it.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
one of the. So anyway, that was the final day for that recording session. That's where we were at with
Oh,
Warner Brothers that day, big orchestra, and you could see there's nobody there because everybody's leaving at that point. It's the end of the date.
yeah. It's hysterical though. I think the thing that we miss in getting together to work is the interaction with all of the people that we're playing with and hanging out with, and they're become your friends, and that's the thing that we miss the most.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's fun sitting and playing. I work with a lot of different players, but also a lot of the same players a lot because it's a core group of people that do this kind of work, and it's
Right.
a lot of us, but those of us have gotten our chance to go in there and prove ourselves time and time again, tend to get called back. And so those guys I'm working with, Aaron Smith and Barry Perkins, a couple of the finest trumpet players in town. And the trumpet player, the guy that he throws the trumpet to, is a fantastic trumpet player as well, Rob Sure, but he happened to orchestrate the music for this. So he was in the booth and didn't play,
Oh,
So anyway, they're all friends of mine, and great, great players and great people and wonderful friends and all that.
yeah, yeah. So then the next video I wanted to show is this one of you doing a recording at home. I have to turn the volume up a little bit, but it also shows what you have to do from home recording. Like when you go into a studio at like Warner or some of those places, all you do is walk in with your horns. But here, when you're doing it at home, you have your mics, you've got mic pre's, you've got Pro Tools or however you do it. And you've got to be all of the guys. You've got to be the engineer and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I wanted to show, because that fascinates me too, because the one thing that I don't know is I don't have a lot of good experience with mic pre's, and it's something all the audio engineers like to talk about.
Yeah. Well, mic pre's are, everybody's got an opinion, and different instruments, different people like different things. I just like a mic pre that sounds pure and doesn't color the sound too much,
You
and
can tell the difference.
but some people like to color the sound. I mean, but you can color the sound in other ways if you're trying to do something with EQ or whatever. The mic pre, I don't think should be in the way.
Yeah. So I'm going to show this to give people an idea of what, and you can tell us about it on the backside.
So he'll fly that stuff in there. And what I do here when I stack stuff, I mean, if you just stack 4 of anybody that's exactly the same, with the exact same instrument, with the same mouthpiece, the same person, well, nobody can play that together except for that person. So that's kind of, even though it's human, it's inhuman. So usually when I stack parts, I'll try to switch mouthpieces, and maybe I'll play a lower part on another mouthpiece, use a different microphone, maybe a different mic pre. Or even, if I was doing 4 trumpet parts on this, I'd probably do the 3rd and 4th parts on flugelhorns and play them like I was playing trumpet, but it adds another color. So you've got somebody with a big dark sound in this section instead of 4 of the exact same frequency, which you might as well use a synthesizer because it says something like a synth. So this stuff sounds, it actually sounds pretty good the way we've done it here. I don't have a very good mix here because I've just got, but let me do a little solo on this. There's a real nice guitar solo on this thing too. And I've got a nice little reverb
just for my own enjoyment, basically. He's not going to use that reverb. He's going to use whatever he uses. I throw it on here so it's pleasant to listen to as opposed to this.
Yeah.
No, it sounds like we're in a closet. There we go. So we got that going back in the track. Gotta give him some of that stuff, you know? This Spider-Man, for God's sake.
Yeah.
He must be kicking somebody's ass right here or something.
All right. So what was that for, that particular
There's
thing?
a composer named Dave Ricard here. That's a fine composer, and he did a big band album, and he left some space for some different players to play on, and he had me in mind to play a solo on it, so he left some solo space on that. There's a great guitar solo on that track too, but this guy Will Brom, who's an incredible guitar player here. I remember when I heard the track, I heard the guitar solo on there. I go, man, I got to follow that. Holy crap. You know, it was really burning. But anyway, it was for his record. So he had me, he goes, would you mind playing the lead trumpet part and the third trumpet part? Then he used the second and fourth part from the guys he had on the session, and then play a solo on it. So that's what that was for just a remote session. And I didn't play on the live dates. He just had me as an afterthought as a soloist. So it was, it was fun. And somebody had come over and asked me to show that video. So somebody came over, and I'm trying to remember who it was now. I'm kind of spacing on why I did that. But they were interviewing me, and I was showing them some stuff I did from home, just like, we showed that just now, and showing them my process. I can say that's my old gear too, because my setup is a little different in here now. You can kind of see my all my stuff here now that's going on. I have a lot of gear going on that I didn't have there. I had some of it. I mean, but
what sort of setup do you have now?
I use Pro Tools. I mean, I've been using Pro Tools, and I'm using Focusrite mic pre's.
Okay.
Because an engineer, Andy Waterman, I'd go over to his studio, and I always liked how I sound there. And so I said, man, you always get such a nice sound on the brass here, man. What are you using? And he goes, well, I've got a Millennia, and I've got all these expensive mic pre's. He goes, but what I use on you is this Focusrite ISA mic pre, and it's a little 1-unit thing, 1 channel, and it's a portable thing. And he goes, they make a rack mount version of it with that's 2 channels. So I bought 2 of those, so I had 4 channels of that, and it sounds beautiful with my Royer microphones and the stuff I use. And I also I use an Apollo 8P, as my this thing here, and it's got mic pre's and mic emulators in it, and like I can use a Neve mic pre emulator out of that, but I usually don't do that too much because it's usually just me in here recording, so I just use hardware. And I also have this it's called a Burl B21 Bomber AD converter, analog to digital converter. That's really a nice unit. So all my stuff going in here is pretty high quality. I don't have all the gear to mix and stuff, but because that's a huge investment.
Right. Well, the main thing that you want is just a flat line level signal with no effects or anything, just a solid recording that you can send to them and let them do all the
Exactly. Sometimes I'll because I'm in kind of a small room here, I have this Ocean Way plugin, so Ocean Way Studios here, which is United Artists now, but very famous room, and they have a plugin that you can put yourself in Studio A there, and you can put a room mic up. So sometimes I'll put a room mic up like 12 feet away. I'll take a KM54. You can pick from their mic catalog.
Okay.
And I'll put it about 12 feet from me. And I don't put a lot of it on. It just makes the sound go from here to here. It just gives it a little bit of width. And sometimes I'll say, how do you like that? And they go, that's beautiful. So I'll process it with that on it. Usually I send everything flat. The only time I put reverb on is at home, just for my own listening pleasure, because it sounds horrible dry.
Right.
So I have this Altiverb thing that's got all these halls in it, and I have a Lexicon reverb plug-in, and I have a bunch of different things that I'll put on. My favorite one is a $50 Valhalla Room reverb, though. It's my go-to. It's $50, and it's the warmest, nicest, most natural thing I have. Out of all those expensive things I just mentioned, it's my go-to.
You know what I find interesting? A lot of the best audio engineers and guys like you will, out of all of the really expensive gear, will say, you know, the best thing I use is this $50 thing here. And everybody just, their mouths drop and say, what? You get that sound out of that?
Well, it's simplicity for me too, because
Yeah.
they're an audio engineer that really knows how to do this will mix different reverbs. They don't just, you can just pick some random reverb and you go, oh, it just sounds okay. But you get an EMT reverb and you combine the tail of this one with this, and then
Mm,
they put some pre-delay on it. And then they put, they warm up the tail out, they do all this stuff. They combine like three things, and then
right.
there's a beautiful sound out of these three things. So even though the more expensive stuff I don't know how to use as well. So something simpler for me, because I'm not a mixing engineer, I mean, I can balance things, and I'm producing this Tom Kubis big band CD we've been doing. So I get all the balances together, and then I send them off to Charlie Pollard, who is mixing it, the mixing engineer. And we just he mixed one of the tunes last night, and it sounds incredible. And he was telling me the combination of reverbs he uses the Capitol Chambers, which is now a plugin, and he puts a little bit of the tail end on that. And he
Mm,
just told me all the stuff he did, and it's quite a process, and it sounds great. I mean,
yeah.
it's money, man. It's like just fantastic. So
And that's one thing that is, I've never really been able to get into, because what you need to know and the experience you need to be able to do all that, and the knowledge, the learning curve is just too much for me. So just going out and doing live sound and putting, just a regular old 57 in front of a trumpet and calling it good, that's about as good as I can get.
great mic too.
It is.
I
So,
have one here. It's my live when I go out and do guest artist gigs. In
mhm.
my monitor, they can put a really nice mic on me for the house. In my monitor, I want a Shure 57 because it cuts through all the muck. It's
Yeah.
clean and it's clear and it's bright, but when I'm trying to hear myself over a high school band that might be a little bit out of tune, and the guitar's amps right behind me and it's really loud, I need to be able to hear myself. So, and
Right.
you're making this sound way too complicated. Trust me, if I can do this, you're just gonna have to understand the learning curve is not that big of a deal. If you would have told me 10 years ago that I'd be doing this kind of stuff, I would have said you're crazy. I was never really interested. And when I started doing it, when I did my last CD, I just wanted to be more involved. So I bought Pro Tools, and I didn't want the engineer, I didn't want Gary Grant, my producer, to have to do everything. So I learned how to do it. I took some lessons with Dan Higgins, his son. Dan Higgins is a great woodwind player here, and his son is an audio engineer. And I took a couple lessons with him. He told me which gear to buy, and we got my first gear, and we got up and running, and I kind of learned how to do it. And I learned about, and that started snowballing, and now I'm producing some projects, and
And as I'm thinking about it, had you not done that, think about where you are now, and being able to, with the COVID-19 thing happening, and this caught a lot of people off guard that didn't have a home studio. Like, I was talking to Bernie, and he said, oh, I have to do stuff for my home now. And I've never really done that. And he was in the process, but now you've been doing it for a little while. So,
I was ready to rock. So I was a go-to for a lot of these people. Oh, Wayne's set up. So came to me, and then all my friends, like Alex Hiles, these great players, Alex Hiles, trombone player, Andy Martin, great
yeah.
trombone player, this tuba player, Steve Trapani here, plays bass trombone and tuba. All of a sudden, they're calling me, well, what do I do? So I got kind of sick of just telling them what to do, and I said, I'm going to make some videos. So I made a basic here's how you import an audio track, whether you're using Logic or Pro Tools or whatever. Okay, here's how you consolidate that track to send to your client. And I just did a little simple videos of the basic stuff. And then, but my phone was ringing off the hook. And I love these guys, and I'm very proud that I got them all up and running.
Yeah.
Every one of them I got up and running with my limited knowledge, and they're all doing it now.
Oh,
a lot of people went out and bought stuff, and a lot of musicians are set up now. So,
well, I don't know, when this all first started happening, there was a particular a couple of items that people needed just to get started, was a simple interface.
Right.
And after about 3 weeks of the shutdown, everybody was sold out.
Yeah.
You could not find a simple interface anywhere, because they were all sold out.
everybody's buying the cheap stuff, you know. But the cheap stuff, I mean, you know, Focusrite makes a really nice for $400.
That's what I'm using.
You
Yeah.
know, it's got the mic pre's in it, and the converters are pretty good. They've come a long, long way. They're not as good as what I have here, or they're
Yeah.
not. You know, I have my converters here. This Burrell B2 Bomber is $3,500 for 2 channels.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah.
So whether the average listener can hear the difference now or not, when I'm recording a lot of people here, like I'm doing this trumpet ensemble project I'm producing, so I've been recording 8 trumpets here, 4 in here and 4 in the living room. You know, when you're recording more people at once, that stuff, you know, having better gear, so makes a difference, because I hear the difference between the 2 tracks that are going through that, and then the 2 tracks that are going through the converters and the Apollo.
Oh, yeah.
And they're really good, but I can hear the difference now.
So when you doing 4 in one room and 4 in the other room, are you isolating each guy, or are they just a section?
4 trumpets, 4 mics, but there's bleed, and
Yeah.
so we can't really. I mean, you can do a little bit of editing, but we do multiple takes. We only did that once, and then we were in the living room, and I was using my iPad with a remote thing to control Pro Tools. It's in here.
Yeah.
And that was problematic. So I had to keep getting up and running in there. And so I said, I'm not doing this. We're going to do it in this room from now on, which is a smaller room. But I've got it dialed in pretty good. So I have the 4 mics lined up against the wall that you can't see. And I would record everybody that way. And it sounds, you know, I wish I had a sample up here I could play you. It sounds pretty darn stellar, man, I have to tell you.
What kind of, you mentioned some Royer mics. I know Royer makes a good ribbon mic that I think a lot of trumpet players like. But
they only make ribbon mics. Yeah, so their flagship microphone is the R121. That's the first microphone they made, and when it came onto the scene, you know, a lot of major players like Jerry Hay, you know, he kind of helped put them on the map because he thought it was a great mic. And the next thing you knew, every major studio in LA had Royer microphones. Then they came out with the 122, and then the 122. What is the one I have here? It's anyway. It's got a you use a mic, you use a phantom power with it,
right?
And they're great mics. So I have 2 121s. I've heard I have a pair of 122s. I have a 101 was a less expensive microphone. It's a larger capsule, and it's only I forget how much it is. Maybe it's $700. But it's assembled in China. It's the capsule is made in China. All the other parts are assembled in the Burbank factory with the actual parts. The only thing that's from China is the casing. So I would use that on the road because it's a more heavy duty and durable mic. And they have a couple of other ones now that are less expensive, like one that's really, I forget what the model is. And it's $500, I think.
Yeah, somebody just asked me about that mic a couple of weeks
ago. Great kick drum mic. It's good on a guitar amp. And so they make, and then their sister company is Mojave, who makes condenser mics.
Right.
You know, so I have an MA300 condenser mic. It's in the box where I'd show it to you. And so if I have a saxophone player over here, or a vocalist, or a flute player, well, on Tom Kuba's stuff, the saxes were here. So I only have one of those, but they loaned me 5 of them.
So you are becoming just a studio guy. I mean,
it's fun, man. I really, it's a new thing for me, and I really enjoy doing it, you know. So for me, like for an audio engineer, they're like bored doing this stuff. For me, it's like, oh man, I get in there and I can do some mixing and I can experiment with sounds. I can try all my plugins out and I can learn. So it's a learning curve, but I've gotten pretty good at it. So I'm, you know, good, Wayne. You did good. You know, pat myself on the back.
There couldn't be a better time to be stuck in your home studio right now. And again, today, you know, Governor Newsom just said, hey, we're closing back up.
Well, we're supposed to do, I was supposed to do a session for a movie in a couple of weeks here. We were actually going to go to East West Studios. I don't want to say what the movie is because I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say yet, but it's a major animated thing.
Sure.
And they were going to do a social distancing session with us all 6 feet apart on riser, just a brass session. Mm-hmm. And we had several dates for this, and we had to bring our own food, our own headphones, extra headphone in case we have a problem because we're not using any of their stuff. We can't touch anything. You know, we can't go off campus to eat because all the restaurants are closed.
Right.
So, and I'm assuming those may get canceled now. And
I mean,
so I'm basically trying to get into shape to play those dates.
Yeah.
So I've got time, and the improvement I'm making, I'll be ready when it's time.
Man.
But I've been, like you mentioned, having the studio thing here. I've been, not only have I been sequestered by the COVID thing, I've been sequestered by the cancer
Mm.
because my immune system was really down. So I couldn't. My wife does all the shopping. She won't let me go anywhere. The only time I left the house was to go to the hospital. I looked forward to going to radiation so I could get out of the house. So
Wow.
we leave here at 10 to 7 every day, and my appointment was at 7:45, and that's how we would do that. So not only that, when I got home, because of the radiation, I couldn't go in the sun.
Mm.
So I couldn't go out and work in the yard. I couldn't go for a walk or anything because they don't want me in the sun for more than 2 minutes. And
Mm.
so now at least I wear a buff, and I think I can go out and work in the yard now. But this kept me so busy, even when I couldn't play, because the first week of chemo, I was sick as a dog. I didn't even feel like playing. So I
Mhm.
was bored, and when I had the strength, I'd come in here and I'd just start tinkering. Gave me something to do.
And that went on. That was a couple of months, right?
Yeah, I did, like I said, 35 days of radiation, and so two months. But
Yeah.
we were sequestered before that, even.
Yeah.
So and I was
Yeah.
terrified going to the hospital even because of the COVID thing, of course. But where I was going at Kaiser Sunset on Sunset Boulevard here, in the building I'm in is only oncology. So that building, 4950 Sunset Boulevard, I went there a few times, so I know the address. Uh, I'd go to the atrium level for radiation, and it was the upper levels when I got my consultation, for this, for my
Mm.
treatments and how they were going to go. Yeah.
Man, from a positive standpoint, if COVID hadn't been happening and all of the dates and all the stuff was going,
I would be losing my mind, not being able to work.
right,
The
right,
work I'd be missing, and it's like anything else, out of sight, out of mind. So if you're not working and they don't see you, you might stop getting called, and then they think, look at you like damaged goods.
right.
And we all get it back together after some. I've had chop tragedies before and teeth issues, and I had a cyst on my lip years ago, and I had to take several weeks off, but I got it all back together and came back stronger, and learned a lot of how to practice. And I go, I'm not stuck. I don't have my head stuck in the mud, in the sand of tradition by any means. But if I'm in trouble, I'm going to ask somebody that knows more than I how to fix it. So
Right.
I would immediately go to my mentor teachers like Bobby Shue and Boyd Hood and even my local colleagues here, Rob Shearer and John Lewis, and ask them, hey man, what do I need to do here to fix this, man? I mean I know what I know, but I need some other input.
Right.
And that's the way you learn, man, is by getting other input. So I'm I don't want to say I'm the smartest cat in the room, but I'm pretty smart when it comes to analyzing what's going on with me and how to fix it and what I have to do. And you have to gain knowledge. If you don't know what to do, you got to find that knowledge somewhere. And so
Right.
that means asking questions and not being too proud to reach out and take a lesson with somebody,
Mm.
a colleague. I mean,
Do
all
you,
my colleagues here can play their asses off, and we have high esteem for each other, and we all bring something different to the table. And they ask me questions, I ask them questions, man. That's learning. You never stop learning, as you know, as a musician, and you're constantly learning.
so you still, when you get together and do some things and on a movie set or anything for a session, do you still confer with guys like, hey, how do you think I should play this? Or
Yeah, sometimes I'll ask, or I'll just pass the part. The music changes like the wind. So you could be on a session and it could be very, very orchestral, and then turn right around and be a funk tune, and then turn right around and have a big band cue, and somebody has to get off percussion, goes to the drum set, and then one of the bassists goes over and plays jazz bass. It can be like that. It's not always like that, but it can be. So if you've got a trumpet section, you need a versatile trumpet section and trombone section. You don't want all stone cold classical players or all stone cold big band players. Maybe for a big band date you do, but so you need players that cross over into the other yard, and we all have some experience playing that different type of music, and so we can make it happen. But we might jostle the parts around a little bit. If I'm on a date and I'm playing 4 trumpets, an orchestral date, and there's 3 of the more classical type players there, when a big band cue comes up, I'm going to scoot over and I'm going to play first, and we're going to readjust the section. And
yeah,
not that they couldn't do it. I mean, they're all great, man. They can make it. They could be very convincing, but why not let the right person do the job? And if I have something that's very orchestral to play, I mean, I can do it, but if I've got 3 players next to me that do this in their sleep,
Right.
and I could sit there and be nervous because I'm playing it in front of them, I might ask them, or I'd be, hey, you mind playing this? Oh, no, you got it, man. I go, hey, what do you think? How do you think I should play this? Or after I play it, how was that? And maybe they lie and say that was good, But and I don't really care, because if they say in the booth, great job, Trumpet, then I don't really give a shit what they say. So, and that's how a trumpet section keeps the gig. That's how you get called back. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. They think they've arrived and they get on a session and they go in there and they play and I've made it. Well, no, you have to prove yourself over and over and over and over again, and hopefully you'll get the call back. But, I always like, somebody goes, how do you get on these recording sessions? You have to audition? And I go, no, you don't audition. But when you're there, you're auditioning every time you play. And if
Yeah.
the trumpet section is not happening because of whatever reason, because somebody's ego is too big to pass a part,
Mm.
and it's not rising to the occasion, and that first trumpet player doesn't want to pass that part, that trumpet section could go down with the ship, because the person, let's try some different, that wasn't so great last time. So you have to be smart about it and go, hey man, we need to make this, we need to check our egos at the door. There's no ego here. We got to make this as great as we can make it. And we take care of each other. We cover each other, all the time. We do that.
Yeah. So the important person to impress is the producer and the guy writing the check.
Composer, the producer, the people on the other side of that glass are the only people that really matter. They're if you're going to get called back, it's going to be because of them. If it's not happening, you're not going to be back. It's as simple as that.
And it doesn't matter.
There's people that think they, I've gotten my shot, man. Well, I don't know why they didn't call me back. Well, it could be maybe they just never got to you again, and their regular players were available. It could be you weren't good enough. It could always be that,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody brings something to the table. There's players that are specialists that do some great things,
Right.
But there's also, and I'll use an example of the great Jack Sheldon, who was, I was a pallbearer at his funeral, and I played taps at his graveside, so he's very near and dear to my heart. Jack's got a unique sound. He's got a sound, 2 notes. That's Jack Sheldon. Just like you hear Miles Davis, 2 notes. You know who they are.
Right.
He's not, even though he's a very good trumpet player, and he probably could play. He's got a beautiful sound. It's always going to have that Jack Sheldon soul in it that might not be appropriate for a certain kind of thing. I mean, I would think it'd be appropriate, because I would think it sounded, no matter what he played, would be awesome to me. But somebody's looking for a stone cold classical trumpet sound, that's not going to be to their liking.
Right.
But if Jack Sheldon played anything, it would have more soul in it. It'd be dripping with soul, even if it was the Haydn trumpet concerto.
So, hey, I know there's been lots of people. I've been sort of watching on a couple of phones here. There's like all kinds of people posting, making comments and everything.
I can't see mine because it's
Yeah.
anyways.
I want to put my phone number up and see if anybody wants to call in, just on a whim. See if anybody wants to call in and ask questions, because I may not be asking questions somebody wants to hear.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Sure.
So get my stuff out of the way. Okay. So in case somebody wants to call in, they actually can call and ask a question, and I have a phone hooked up. And, but all of the information, if I were a beginning trumpet player or somebody new to town, everything you just said was something extremely valuable for me that I should be listening to.
I'll tell you, when somebody asks me, hey, I want to get out of college, I want to be a well-rounded trumpet player and maybe play in the studio someday. College kids ask me, sometimes high school kids, how do I be a star? And I'm like, well, you're asking, the wrong question. You got to get your playing will do the talking for you. There's no need to tout your own, to say, oh, listen how good I am. Aren't I so great? Oh man, I'm just the best, That'll all come out the belly of your horn. You don't need to say a word, so that's first and foremost, But I will tell them, I go, I would move to a city where this kind of work exists, you know, whether it's New York or LA. Not as much in New York anymore, unfortunately, just because of the business has taken such a weird turn. But London and LA are probably the main hubs for recording to this day. But I'd say you move to Los Angeles, and then whatever instrument you play, you call the most working player on that instrument that you can find out. If it's Bill Rockenbach on the bass trombone, greatest bass trombone in the world, you know, in many, many ways. And, you know, he plays jazz, he's legit, plays, writes, you know. You call him up and you take a lesson for reasons. So they can hear you play, and so you can learn something. And maybe you'll go take a lesson from them, whoever that is, on whatever instrument, Dan Higgins on the woodwinds, and you'll learn something, and you'll learn those skills. And that player goes, man, this player really is adapting, man. The flute's happening, and the bass trombone is really happening, and this is somebody I could actually recommend if the contractor goes through their list. And that's how I got in the business. You know, Warren Looning and George Graham and Rick Baptist and Gary Grant were instrumental in recommending me over the years when I was younger. And I just want to tell a quick story about Joe Soldo, who is 93 years old now, I think, and still a very viable person, very healthy, plays tennis. And I got called to do this movie call 35 years ago, probably, a movie called Another Stakeout. They had done.
Hold on. I am getting a call.
Okay, let's take the call and I'll finish the story.
Okay. Hello?
Hello,
Yeah, who's calling?
this is Jose Cibaja.
Jose Sabaja. This is a great trumpet player that teaches at Vanderbilt University and is a founding member of the Boston Brass and one of the greatest trumpet players in the world you have on the phone right now. And I'm not saying that to be nice.
He's too kind. Hey, I just want to say that I just called because I want to say that on behalf of a lot of people that are watching, it's great to see you doing well. It's great to see you back on the horse, and it's just you made my night just to be able to see you and be right there talking to us, man. Thank you for the inspiration always, and as you know, I always say my love to you, and thank you for having him there, man.
I love you, Jose, man. Thank you. We talked last night, Jose. We just talked about he's a good friend, and I love that guy, man. And through my whole ordeal, man, he was in touch with me, man, and giving me inspiration.
Oh, great.
Yeah. That's all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, pleasure.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. All right. So, I mean, that's so cool.
Yeah. So the rest of my story here is, so I get a call. This guy had gone through his whole list of trumpet players. And so he asked Warren Looning, George, hey, I need a fourth trumpet player for this movie call. Who can you recommend? And I'd been playing in Bob Florence's band with these guys. Now, they don't know anything about me other than being a big band player, a pretty good big band player, you know. And but they saw something in me and they recommended me. So I get on this date, and it's Malcolm McNabb, George Graham, Warren Looning, and myself. And I am as nervous as a hooker in church when I walk in because there's a 100-piece orchestra and we're at Todd A.O. recording, big orchestra, big, huge orchestra. And we start playing, and it's like, man, the room just lifted when everybody played. And I just couldn't believe how great it sounded. It's like, oh. And I was never so nervous to play easy music on fourth trumpet in my life. As I got my composure, I started feeling more comfortable, and I played, and I was listening, and nobody was telling me I sucked or telling me to play louder or softer. So anyway, I got through the date, to make a long story short. I got through the date, and I handed my paperwork to get paid into the contractor, Joe. And I said, hey, Joe, man, thank you for this opportunity, man. And he goes, oh, man, thanks. Everybody said you did a really great job. He goes, I'm going to put you on my list. And I go, wow, man. I go, thanks. He goes, I'm going to put you on the bottom of my list. And I go, oh, okay. And he goes, you want to know why I'm going to put you on the bottom of my list? And this is very true, man. If you think about somebody that thinks they've arrived and should be there, man. He goes, I'm going to put you on the bottom of my list because who of my tried and true players, of my 30 trumpet players I use, or 20 trumpet players that I use regularly, who should I fire? Who would you like me to fire to move you up? Which one are you better than? And I said, man, I'm honored to be on the bottom of your list, man. You know, I'm just glad to be here, man. He goes, and he just said something really funny. He goes, trust me, as they die, retire, or piss me off, you're going to move up. And I now play first trumpet for Joe Soldo. So that story actually happened, and I worked my way up the ranks through him. as those things happen, as his players passed away, you know, Warren Looning was his first trumpet player on many things for years, and my dear friend, and he would call me to play. When Warren passed away, he started calling me to play first. I would play first before that sometimes because Warren would say, "I don't want to play first. You play first," you know. Mm-hmm. So that's how I kind of got in the business, because he called me a couple other times, and then the players get comfortable with you, and you eventually, you know, become a mainstay, you know.
But how cool is it that the guy was? Okay, we'll take another phone call. See who this is. Hello,
Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Bob from San Francisco, probably same place where you are. I see the 415.
Well, I'm not in San Francisco. That's just my phone number.
Okay. I got a question for Wayne.
Yeah.
How did Gordon Goodwin get all those top players for the Big Fat Band? How does someone put that together? That'd be interesting to find out.
Well, Gordon, you know, is pretty well-known composer. You know, so when he put the original band together, it wasn't really the Big Fat Band. He was just recording some big bands.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Hold it. Do you have your phone on in the background? Hello?
Can you hear me all right, Jeff?
Yeah. Well, I was just hearing the
echo. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Okay. So I'm sorry, Wayne. Go ahead.
Gordon was always a fan of Jerry Hayes and Gary Grants and a lot of his team of players. And so he hired them for the first session we did. And of course, they weren't going to be, you know, those players weren't going to be part of a band that's going out and playing anywhere. But we did that first session with them then, which was a very successful record and came out really great. And I didn't even play first trumpet on it. Gary Grant played first trumpet, even though I played lead on a lot of the charts. Gary and I split it up. And when we did the Big Fat Band records after that, those players weren't necessarily available. So I ended up becoming the first trumpet player, and we brought in some other players. Dennis Farias was the second, God rest his soul, no longer with us, played second trumpet, and different players are coming in. And then eventually, over a few years, we kind of, even though the personnel changed a little bit, we kind of formed a nucleus that we have now, which is still a lot of A-list players here in LA. My trumpet section is now you know, Dan Fernero and Mike Rocha and Dan Savant, who's the band manager. The trumpet player before that was Willie Murillo, who left the band to on to other things. But all these players that have come through are great. And Gordon is also, you know, we love the music. You know, he writes his butt off, man, and it's challenging, man. It's the most challenging book I've ever played. And because of Gordon, though, you know, I've been put on a lot of work too. Gordon's put a lot of money in my pocket. That's not why I play in the band. I play in the band because I love playing in the band, and I go on the road with the band and do the low-paying gigs. But you know, if Gordon is orchestrating the date, he's going to request me to be in the trumpet section. And we were talking about how you get work. That's how you get work, when the composers and the orchestrators want you there because you've proven yourself. So if Gordon has a date, a lot of the nucleus of the Big Fat Band is liable to be on that session. So anyway.
Hope you make it into the San Francisco Bay Area again. You guys played Yoshi's a couple of times, but hope you make it back up this way. That would be great.
Yeah, I was actually scheduled in December to play a gig at Yoshi's with the Dianza College Night Band.
Yeah, Dianza, sure.
Yeah, I played there once before with them, but I was supposed to play with them in December, but that's not going to happen. But I'm sure we'll get back there. We love playing Yoshi's for a couple of nights with the Big Fat Band, and it's always fun. And the crowds are always great, and you know, it's pretty awesome. We played up at the San Francisco jazz thing up there too. What's it called? The San Francisco Jazz Chronicle? No, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's kind of by the downtown Opera House Civic Center area, right?
Awesome place to play, man! What an incredible room to play in acoustically. You know,
well, I know Michael Beal, and Michael Beal's your guy when you make it up to the Bay Area, so I'm sure he says hi as well.
Oh yeah, I haven't talked to him in a long time, and I love that guy though. He would drive me around, and he took a trumpet lesson with me once or twice, and we just became fast friends, man. So please tell him I said hi. As a matter of fact, I'm going to call him.
Thank you, Jeff, for letting me in, and good to see you doing well, Wayne. Good to see you here.
Thanks for calling, Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
All right. So there was another call came in, but so I'm sure they'll call back. You were in the middle of a story.
Oh, I was talking about that session with Joe Solo. And
Right.
so I said I now play for Joe Solo, and I was talking about that's how you get from recommendations, and you have to kind of go in and prove yourself a lot of times so they can give you the green light, and maybe in different situations where like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. No, I try to make everybody think that that's all I do. So if I'm doing something that's kind of classical and I do a convincing job, I want that composer to think I'm a classical trumpet player. You know, and then you get a chance to do a big band thing, and they go, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I go, oh yeah, I do that on the side a little bit. You know?
Hey, well, here's a question that I'm not sure whether younger players think about this, or do they ask you this when you get into that session? It's your first one. How important is it to actually hear and understand everything else that people are playing around you? How important is it to really listen? Because you said something about, how was your volume and all that stuff. It's really important to pay attention to what others are
You're
doing.
balancing the section correctly. And I'm in an environment with players that I don't play with all the time. And I want to make sure I'm going to ask, hey man, am I too loud or too soft? Tell me how to play. I have no ego here. You tell me I'm sucking, I'm going to make it not suck, whatever I got to do. But playing in the studio like that is a weird thing because we're relying on click tracks. Everybody's got a headphone on one ear. And it's a little bit weird because the French horns are usually on the other side of the room and we hear them late. So if you react to that, you're going to be late. We have to be like glued to the click. I always say you have to be like a bum on a bologna sandwich to the click.
Yeah.
Even if something sounds, you need to be on it, and then it'll sound great in the booth. It'll all be together. If you don't do that, when they try to rehearse something at a scoring stage to just a conductor, it just becomes a cacophony because everything is so late and the rooms are kind of live. It's like playing like that way in the Hollywood Bowl. It's very different. You have to really stay. If you watch the stick, you'll be okay. If you try to react to what you hear, you're going to be late because of the big echo. So I always say the difference between a stone cold classical player and a stone cold jazz player is classical players look for the beat, and jazz players feel the beat. And I don't mean the classical players don't have good time because they have incredible time when they're playing in tempo. But classical music is very rubato and breathes, and so they're looking for the beat at all times. That's where we kind of, we feel the pulse because the drums are always going ding 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 shaka. We're playing swing music, so we feel that, and that's kind of a interesting difference because following the click to me and staying on the stick for me is more difficult than it is. Go ahead, take that.
Hello.
Hey, it's John Baker to talk to Wayne.
Hi, John.
Baker is I'm going to just say who he is because he's a great, great composer, and I've done numerous recording sessions for him at different studios. He was partners in a studio called The Bakery where I did my first CD, and I did literally hundreds of sessions there. And so I just want to introduce who John is, and I miss you dearly, John. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, Wayne, I can't tell you how awesome it is to see you. I am like emotional.
Oh, man.
You're, one of the premier players in the world, but I want people to also know what a great human being you are. You've talked a lot about your playing. You've talked a lot about your chops on, learning recording and learning Pro Tools. But above all else, you are an amazing human being. And I think that, showing up and playing well is important, obviously, but we love you so much. I mean, this community loves you. I love the fact that you told that story about Gordon's big band, and I've co-produced that first album, and
John was a co-producer. That's right. Oh my God.
yeah, we, everybody was so excited because Gordon had learned about Tommy Vaccari through Quincy, and Quincy had told everybody that here's the team you should use, and of course Gary was part of that, and there was this whole sort of like assumption that we were going to just kind of inherit Quincy's band or that whole Jerry Hay lineage, and you showed up and you blew the walls down, and I'm so excited to see how you've kind of gone on, and I mean it's I don't even have words for it. I just wanted to call in and say how much you're loved, how much it just means so much to the music community in Los Angeles to see you on this program, to know that you're getting healthy, and we all look forward to working with you again. That's basically all I wanted to say.
John, thank you, man. I mean, it's just funny though. I talked about that record, and then here you are, man, and I miss seeing you. I think about you a lot, man, because we haven't seen each other in a while, just in general, you know. John actually came over here and we did a session at my house in my living room, a horn section.
I remember that. When I saw you sitting in that room, I thought about sitting in there with my headphones on, and you and Andy and Dan Higgins were out in the living room, and I'm sitting here trying to put all the pieces together. That was early on in your Pro Tools life.
I was just learning, but it was funny because I go, what can I do with the living room to make it sound better? So we ended up moving a couch cushion up, and then closing the blind. And then he goes, oh, that sounds better, man. Check it out. That sounds pretty darn good, man. So we were trying
to manage the acoustics. Yeah, we're trying to manage the slap off the wall and stuff, and to just, you know, hear you talk so authoritatively about mics and preamps. And I love the fact that I've got to tell Andy now, you know, Andy was my business partner for years at the bakery, that you have a preamp that was recommended by him. He'll love that.
He knows that, yeah, because we've talked about it, man. So I asked Andy a lot of questions because Andy is a great engineer. He lives in Nashville now, but man, he just always did such a fantastic job. As a matter of fact, my first CD, my first producer was John. He produced the first date, and he insisted we have Andy Waterman. And then Gary Grant, you know, put his nose in there and took over. But he's my dear friend. But you know, Gary's a good friend. He goes, I want to produce the rest of this, and there was no hard feelings from John or anything. You know, we were all involved. And my first CD ended up getting nominated for a Grammy, man. In fact, there's my little accolade up there, man. We couldn't believe it, man. This unknown trumpet player guy, and with a CD on a shoestring budget, man, and I put everything I had into it, and again, it ended up getting nominated for a Grammy. So it was a huge deal to me. So John, thank you for you're a big part of that, man, and a big part of my life and my career. And I thank you for
you're always there for me. You're always there for everybody. I mean, I just want to make sure that the people who are watching realize that you're not just a badass on the trumpet. You are a badass human being. So thank you.
It means the world to me coming from you, man. Thank you. You're gonna make me cry. I'm all emotional, man.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks for calling.
Hang up now. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
You know, I think it was a really good idea to take phone calls.
Yeah, that was nice, man. Hearing from all three of those callers was awesome, man. But that guy, John, I was just thinking about him too, which is funny, man. And I spaced out. He was the first person I called when I decided I was going to record. I did 3 tunes. I did the tune "Friend Like Me," "Waltz of the Flowers," and "Hospital Blues" were the first 3 tunes I recorded from my first CD, and it was recorded at that studio. Well, all of them were recorded at that studio, but Gary had come in and worked with those guys, Gary Grant. And so anyway, got great memories. That was 2003, man. Oh my God, you know.
Wow. But that's like, I first met you in 82 or 83. So 2003,
we were working on Sitmar Cruise Lines together, you know, which was a whole nother, we could do a master class on just the antics that were going on there, you know.
And I may have asked you this the last time we talked. Did you have the idea that you wanted to be a session player, or did you just want to just play your horn and play live in bands?
I just wanted to play my horn. From the first time somebody paid me to play, which was in high school in the 9th grade, at Linwood Bowling Alley. I grew up in Linwood, California, and with a band called Synopsis, which was all juniors and seniors. And I came in the 9th grade, and their trumpet player had left and graduated, or whatever. I'm not even sure what the story was. And I came in, and those guys groomed me. They taught me a lot. We were playing Chicago tunes and beginnings, and you know, all that stuff was the hit songs and Carole King tunes, and they taught me a lot about pitch. And you know, I had a lot of chops when I was a kid, and I could play high. I was pretty, you know, naturally had natural range when I was a kid. So I came in thinking I was all badassery, you know. And then I got into this band, and then I got to play soft, and I got to play flugelhorn, and they're teaching me how to play in tune. They go, "No, it's great. You can't really play high in this tune. You have to, you have to play boo, boo, doo, 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 boo, in tune, you know." And so they said, "Oh, that's sharp, that's flat," and it was before tuners and all that stuff. So I learned a lot from all the guys in that band, from you know, Brad Powell and Mark Massey, who's this great piano player who also played trombone, and Dave Hill, who was a saxophone player. I mean, all the cats in this band were older than me, and I learned a lot about pop music from that experience. And I got $25 for 5 hours at the Linwood Bowling Alley. It might have been $20. And I remember getting paid at the end of the gig going, damn, I just made $20 playing the trumpet. And I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I ended up getting in some other bands through high school. I played in a band called a band called City in East LA, and I was 15 years old, and my mom would drive me to the gigs. And this band was older cats, you know, they were all in their 20s, and I played gigs, and I was getting $75 for a couple of weddings on the weekend. And I was in high school, and I was learning how to, you know, now I'm learning about Tower Power, and I'm learning how to play all this different stuff. So even though big band and swing and Count Basie, man, and Duke Ellington and, you know, Duke and Maynard and Buddy were in my heart. Now, man, I'm finding out about Tower Power and Malo and Santana and all these other different bands, and I fell equally in love with all that music, you know. So I think all that experience and learning about those different styles of music too helped me along the way later, being, you know, knowing a little bit, you know, if I could go do a pop gig and I knew the horn licks, you know, so it helped me with work later, you know. So I forget what your actual question was, but I kind of,
It's just whether you knew you wanted to just play and be in a, or do session work or.
No, session work, you know, I started thinking about that later. That'd be fun to do recording, you know. And I got on a couple little recording sessions, you know, and even in high school we did a horn section overdub for this band I played in called Ishka Bibble, and we did Bowie tunes and stuff like that, you know, Suffragette City and those. So we'd add horns to them. It was me and a trombone player named Beaver Armstrong, you know. And matter of fact, the leader of that band sent me that track, and I play a high G at the end of it. So I was 15 or 16. It was kind of fun to hear. I was going, yeah, I kind of sucked back then. I wasn't as good as I thought I was, you know. But I knew that's what I wanted to do. And then later, as I started getting involved, I started realizing what it took to be that kind of a player. And I noticed that a lot of the work went to players who could play classical style, at least understood how to fit in with those sections. So I started taking some lessons. I studied with Boyd Hood, and I studied with, who was in the LA Philharmonic for years. And I also studied with him to help me with some chop issues. And I studied with Yuan Racy, who was with the MGM Orchestra and one of the greatest trumpet players to ever grace a scoring stage. And, you know, he played on West Side, the original West Side Story movie, you know, we talked about on our last thing. And we played a lot of Ben-Hur and things like that.
Okay. Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Hi. This is Ron Crow.
Oh my God! Here's my high school big band drummer, my partner in crime.
I really can't hear you very well. Hang on one second. There. Hey Wayne, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Ron. Man, Ron, my.
Oh, there you go. Now I can hear you.
Right.
Hey, I'll just make this quick. I want to let everybody know. Well, I want to let you know first. It's really so good to see you up and at it again, man. You're doing so well, and a lot of your chums are watching you. I know, chums from the old days and the current days and all that. And for those who don't know, but it'll probably come as no surprise, really, that Wayne, ever since way back in the late 60s when he was just a kid, he could lead a brass section through a brush fire. Even in those days, I mean, he's been the ultimate musician.
Don't make me old, man. It wasn't that long ago. It was
the day we met, bro. and I just want to say again, it's so good to see you backing up and at it. And if you get a chance, maybe you ought to tell the circus joke. That is the best joke. I've learned my best jokes from you, man.
I'm trying to remember which joke that is, though. The circus.
What's that?
Which circus joke? Remind me, so because.
Oh, it's the one. It's the one with the cannon at the end.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
The best jokes, man.
Okay,
Anyway,
yeah, I want to just talk.
I just want to let you know that we all love you, and it's so good to see you back. And I'm going to continue watching on the live stream in just a second here. You take care, bro.
Hey, Ron.
Okay. Thanks, man.
I want to tell the listeners a little bit about Ron. Ron was a Buddy Rich fanatic, and we would go to
All right. See you later. Bye.
Yeah. When Buddy's band or Maynard's band was in town, we would go together and go see these bands. We saw Freddie Hubbard together at the Lighthouse. But Ron, he was a really swinging drummer too. He just like, he had it going on, so we had a lot of fun together. But he had this other talent. I always talk about how trumpet, is all about, it's not rocket science and I had natural range. He could pick up my trumpet and hit a double high C with zero training. And he didn't even know what note he was hitting. He could just wiggle his finger. He'd watched me play, and whatever, he'd figured out the combination to the safe. And he could play double high C. He could do it so well that we had him play. We used to do this chart on Killer Joe, and there was a big shout chorus at the end, and the other drummer would get on the drums during the bridge, and Ron would grab a trumpet, and he would go out front and scream over the band. Just random, like, playing a bunch of wrong notes and stuff. But we crowd would go nuts because it was high. So that's Ron Crow. And when we got back in contact with each other after high school, a few years ago, it's not like one moment had passed.
Wow.
So he's that guy.
Yeah.
Good guy, man, and great friend. So.
Wow, that's cool. But speaking of circus, did you do a circus gig?
I did. Well, I did Ringling Brothers when it came to town, and
okay.
I sat on Circus Vargas, of course.
You did.
Yeah. I subbed for Roger Ingram, I think, and John Worley was a trumpet player, and Louis Fosman used to do it, and we're all buddies,
Yeah.
Should I tell that circus joke if I can remember it?
If you can remember it, I think you should. I would. Any circus joke is a good joke.
This woman calls up the adoption agency and says, "Well, we're looking to adopt a child," and they go, "Well, do you have a home?" And she goes, "Well, no, we don't have a home." And they go, "Well, how you can adopt a child?" Goes, "Well, let me explain." She goes, "I travel with a circus. I travel with a circus troupe, that does all these acrobat stuff. And so we live on a train. It has all the modern conveniences of home. So she goes, "Well, like, technically, I guess that does qualify as a home." He goes, "Oh, yeah, we have all kinds of stuff." What about medical stuff? Because if you have a child, you're going to go, well, imagine people on the circus are getting hurt all the times and breaking bones and getting sick. And we have a whole staff. We have a car dedicated to medical stuff. We can actually do surgery on the train. We have a surgeon, and we have a whole team of medical doctors that take care of the cast of the circus. I go, "Well, God, man, I can check that one off. That qualifies as well." So they go, "Well, what about schooling?" Because as the child gets older, you go, "Well, we have a lot of kids on the circus, a lot of families from all over the world, so we have probably better than most of your public schools because we have teams of people that speak different languages and are bilingual because we have Bulgarian acrobatic troops and from people from all over the world. And so these kids get a great education, are usually way ahead of the curve of people that are in traditional schools." She goes, "Well," goes, "Man, I don't know what to say, man. You meet all the qualifications." I go, "What are you looking for? You're looking for a boy or a girl?" She goes, "Well, it doesn't really matter much. Whatever one will fit in the canon."
Can I do this? I could. That's my sound effect thing that I have. that was. I like that though. Oh man.
That's a funny story.
Yeah, all I needed really is a drum roll and a kapring, something.
Carl Saunders told me that joke. He's a great cover.
Yeah. So, of one other thing that somebody said to me one time, and I was talking to them about playing, and he told me, when I decided I wanted to play music, I thought that learning how to play music because I like music, was learning all music. And I think the reason we got into that conversation is because we talked about, maybe there's a classical player, or maybe there's just the jazz guy or just the rock guy. And he said he wanted to be able to learn all music and appreciate all styles, and thought that if he wanted to be a musician, that's really what he needed to do to be successful. Do you think learning all of those styles helped you be able to do all of the work you do today?
Most definitely. Now, I didn't grow up, I was a big band trumpet player. I learned later in life to adapt to the situation I'm in, you know. So I think, and I teach, when I teach now, I just tell people, you be a chameleon, you embrace everything. And now modern day players, there's many players that do this a lot better than I do at all of this stuff. You know, there's some players in town here that cover a lot of territory versatility wise. And it's because somebody said, man, you got to do it all. And some people, you know, you can wear a lot of different hats. You know, they say jack of all, master of none, but that's not necessarily true. I know some I know some trumpet players here that play great, excuse me, commercial music and play, you got everything when you got your health. Sorry. This went down the wrong tube.
Uh-oh.
Could play classical music equally as well, you know, so. I'm done.
All
Right. Now you're making me laugh.
You know, here's the other thing that I always am fascinated by is the way you horn players especially read music. When I look at the notes and how you guys, and you sit like 4 feet from the music, and I'm going, how the hell can you see the music from that far away? I mean, what?
That's where these come in. Dialed in for my music stand. I bring my music stand and music
Okay.
into the optometrist. I mean,
All right. Hello.
Hi. I just wanted to say some things, but you had asked Wayne about if he'd always thought about being a studio musician and, you know, how he got started into it. And I was going to be a classical musician. I met Wayne back in the 80s at a TCU Jazz Festival, I think it was.
who is this?
That was all I was ever going to do, was I was going to...
What's your name? What's your name, sir?
Sally Jackson.
Hey there. How you doing, man?
And are you from Austin? Hello? Are you still, are you there?
Okay, it's Sally Jackson.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, but no, I was from Fort Worth, Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we got a little delay going here. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, do you have a question for Wayne? You might have to turn down your computer or your
Speaker.
Laptop,
and talk on the phone.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, and it seemed like we were going quite a bit different. But anyway, can you hear me now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I had been going to be a classical trumpet player. That's all I ever wanted to do. I was I hadn't figured out the odds against getting a symphony gig at that point. So I wasn't going to do anything else. And then I got to college and I started listening to some jazz. I got drafted into the jazz band because they needed one more trumpet. And then as things go, I ended up, my playing career was almost completely jazz as a soloist and lead player, because I had, like Wayne, I had natural range. But I wanted to tell him about the weirdest job I ever had was when I went to play on a cruise ship, because I was filling in for a local musician's vacation. His name was Dennis Noday.
I know that. I know that. Of course, yeah.
Yeah. And they had unplugged the microphone for him under the stage because they didn't want him accidentally bring up the level, because he was louder than the rest of the band anyway.
Yeah.
And I had to try to play my first gig I ever did anywhere, trying to play as loud as Dennis Noday. And that was an experience. But
a good story.
The best thing is, if you learn to play the trumpet, then you can learn the other things. But I studied with Jake Don Jacoby
Yeah.
when I was in college, And a bunch of people were saying, well, why are you taking lessons now? You know, you're already playing places. And it was like, because I wanted to know more about it. But when you went in to play for him, he wanted to hear what you could do. And he'd ask you to, I'll just run a chromatic as high as you can go and back down. And he'd watch you while you were playing it. And he'd say, okay. He said, classical players tend to pull the trumpet up to them. Jazz players, pull the trumpet right to them. Classical players kind of go forward to meet it. And he said, and you confuse me because jazz players use the third valve easily, and yet you put that to a high G. So I'm not sure. I said, I do jazz and lead. But it's just, we get in, a lot of people get into a little niche and that's all they ever do. I love listening to you play because you're doing all of it. I love the players who can do it all. And I just wanted to say how great it is to see you're doing well.
Thank you, man. That means a lot to me, man. Thank you very, very much, man. And thanks for the great story.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for calling in.
Oh, I'm loving this show.
Oh, great. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. You know, every time somebody calls, I'm thinking how great it was to let people call. And they're so enjoying talking to you. Were we in the middle of a story?
I forget. One of us has to remember because we were in the middle of a story, but you can move on to something else, man. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah. Well, we've been on for an hour and 15 minutes. We should wrap it up maybe pretty soon. I don't know how many viewers because I have to use my phone for the we've had a good stream of people. I think you got a good stream of people. I think that I am happy that we did this because, first of all, as everybody has said, and I watched a few people post on your page, it's good to see you. They weren't sure what was going on with you. This was a good chance for you to tell everybody what was going on, and people are actually watching, and they're happy to see you. And the fact that everybody knows you're playing again, but it not up, you still got to work a little bit, but it seems that everybody's just really happy to see that you're up and at it and finding what you're doing.
Well, a lot of people that, my wife was kind enough to kind of post stages of these treatments as I went through, and I wasn't always doing so hot. But I've lost 30 pounds, though. It's not a diet I recommend.
Right. All right. So we'll take one more call. Who's this?
This is Junior. I play banda.
Junior Banda. Yeah, man.
How are you, Big Papa?
I'm good, man. I got to tell you, I have to tell you about Junior here. Junior is a banda. He's a great player, but he's a banda band trumpet player. And nobody I know can play louder than him. Nobody. I have yet to meet the person because we would be at the NAMM show trying horns, and I would tell him, "Do your thing, man," and he could silence the convention floor.
Wow.
Still being nice to me, huh?
No, man. And so we'd walk around together at the show and hang out, and he was like a pull toy for me. I go, "Do your thing, man, do that thing," and it's a sound that is part of that music, and it's very difficult to do, So, Junior, what's up, buddy?
I just want to make it quick. I'm enjoying the live interview. I am very happy that you're doing well. I am praying for you every day, and I really hope to see you in person again very soon, whenever it's the Lord's will. And we're going to keep praying for you. We love you a lot, and I can't wait to see you in person again.
Junior, I love you, man. Thank you, man. Thank you for the prayers, man. They're accepted, man, here. And I
you
feel...
all have a good night, and I love you all. Love you again, Big Papa.
Take care.
Thank you for calling. All right. So, Wayne, Donna wants to know about your nice haircut.
My sister, Donna, who is just the most awesome person in the world. My hair is jacked up right now because in the back from the radiation, I didn't lose any hair from the chemo. The chemo had no chance against this. But in the back, the radiation got some, so my hairline is up a little bit, and my hair was like just a mess. It hadn't even been cut, and So I went to her house on Saturday, and it's the first time I'd been out too since this. So it was my first night out. So I got to go see my sis, and she cut my hair and did a really nice job. I'm sorry, Donna, I didn't product it or anything, man. It's kind of like just from this morning. But she trimmed it up, and then she fixed the back so it kind of hides those places. It may grow back there, but for now. So anyway, she was kind enough to do that. My sister is the absolute bomb, and my sister does a lot for the city of Long Beach and has a lot of influence. And my sister is one of those kind of people. If she decided that a certain building should be across the street, she could have it moved.
Oh, wow.
So she does a lot for the city and trying to get things fixed. And I love you to death, Donna. And I'm going to call you after this.
All right. So I don't know. Do you have the strength? Are you okay to play a little bit something so we can close out the show the way we started?
I
think.
Yeah. I'll play a lick or two. Huh?
And then what I'll do is I'll close out the show with you playing a little bit of a solo of sorts. And thank you, Wayne, for taking the time to do this. And I know that everybody that was watching was really glad that that they got to see you here.
This was an absolute pleasure for me, and I thank the people that called in, and I just want to say, anybody that's on Facebook with me, as I mentioned, man, I read every post that you've made, and the love and the support and the prayers, and I mean, it's going to make me cry, man. But I read every one. I want you to know that, man. And as I said in my post, man, it helped me through this more than you know, man. So thank you for that.
Okay. Well, take us out with just a little bit so everybody knows that.
Well, all right. I don't want to play too loud. I got my muter.
Okay.